Shields up, Iron Breakers. Rurikhan here coming at you with another video, and today we're going to be talking about Granblue Fantasy Relink. Now, this is a title that I've been eagerly anticipating for what feels like ages. As a matter of fact, I've been following the development of this game ever since Scalebound was cancelled, which for those of you that are not aware exactly when that was, next January it's going to make about 7 years that I've been waiting for this game. And you know, I've been doing a little bit of coverage here and there, but unfortunately most of the news that we would get for this game would be in Japanese, which made it kind of hard to do proper coverage on. But if you look through the channel, you will see several reaction streams and just like videos of me trying to dissect the gameplay and all of that stuff. But there was still a lot of questions that were left hanging in the air. However, recently we've had an announcement of a hard date for Granblue Fantasy Relink. I don't remember exactly which show this date was announced in. I think it was like a PlayStation show or something like that. And I remember, bro, finally we have a date, February 1st, 2024. And even more recently, like a couple of weeks ago, several content creators got to go hands-on with the game over on UK, which allowed us to get a lot more answers to a lot of the questions that I personally had about the game. And today I figured I'd give you guys a bit of a refresher for those of you that are curious about Granblue Fantasy Relink, because this is definitely going to be one of the games that I want to devote a significant chunk of time next year. So naturally, we're doing a little bit of pre-coverage, and I also plan on potentially doing a podcast with 269 in Paradise where we'll talk about Monster Hunter Wilds, but also about Granblue Fantasy Relink. Hopefully, we'll be able to line that up with our schedules, because I'm personally super hyped for this game. I've been super hyped for this game for quite some time, so let's talk a little bit more about it. So the game is going to be coming February 1st, 2024. It is going to be coming to PS5, PS4, and Steam. Now, if we actually go over to the pre-order page, you will see that there's going to be different versions, digital editions, and whatnot. This was actually something that confused me a little bit, because if we go over to Steam and we go to the store page thing, wait, it's not the store page. Whoops, that was the wrong link. My bad. If you go to the edition differences here, we actually get to see what we get with every different version. And it seems like if you're playing on PlayStation, you're actually going to get a little bit of an early access. I believe that the early access is going to be 3 days. I forget exactly where I saw that, but I've already read somewhere that early access begins at about 28th of January, give or take. You know, this is still subject to change depending on server maintenances and stuff like that. But it seems like all you got to do is pre-order the game on PS4 at any point in time, and you'll be able to get that early access. You guys know I'm not the huge fan of like this early access stuff, but if you're able to at least get it by pre-ordering, it's whatever. What kind of sucks is the fact that you can't really get that on Steam. So yeah, you know, if you want to get early access, you're going to have to get it on PlayStation. But the game is still going to be available on Steam as well on February 1st. And you have all of these different editions with a bunch of like packs and gear and stuff like that. But I just wanted to show you guys that there is going to be a little bit of an early access if you're super hyped about the game or whatever. Now, recently, we've had quite a bit more gameplay. As you guys can see, this is footage from Arekkz Gaming. I'm going to be linking to their channel in the description of this video. I'm using footage with their permission. But yeah, they have like a lot of gameplay, and they really broke down a lot of the systems that we can expect with Granblue Fantasy Relink, which finally answered a lot of the questions that I had. So I would actually recommend you guys check out their videos, because they actually got to play the game, and they really break stuff down really nicely as to all the things that we can expect. So one of the first and most important questions, which was something that I was always curious about, is what is going to be the business model for Granblue Fantasy Relink. And the reason why I make that question is because Cygames are the team behind the video game Granblue Fantasy. Now, this may not be super familiar for us Westerners out here, because I believe that the game is mostly popular in Japan. I don't even know if there's a Western version, but Granblue Fantasy is essentially a gacha game. So this is a game where they probably made a lot of revenue, I would imagine, because gacha games are super popular, but it is a mobile game, right? However, Granblue Fantasy Relink is their foray into the console marketplace and the PC marketplace. So this is basically bringing in some of the characters of their gacha game into an action RPG which actually has really good visuals, as you guys can see from the footage here, but also has really cool gameplay, action RPG. We're going to be talking more about how the combat works and all of that stuff, but suffice it to say, if you are one of the people that, like me, was concerned about the game potentially being gacha, it is not going to be a gacha. It is a full-priced game, and the idea is that this is one of those games that, you know, you play through, you grind for a significant chunk of time, and then eventually you move on. This is not really, at least as far as I can tell, and from the interpretation of Paradise Central and 269, it does not feel like this is going to be a full-on live service game. It is the type of game that you're going to be playing for a bit, and then you're going to move on from it, which to me, that is perfect. That is exactly what I want. So, full priced, no gacha, cool beans. So what can we expect from the game? Now, my interpretation from what I've seen in the videos of Paradise Central and 269, it seems that the game divides itself into kind of like two things. Two things which then subdivide into more things. But you have your campaign, which is the gameplay footage that you guys are watching right now. And the campaign is mostly going to be single player, is my understanding. And it is going to take you about 20 hours to go through the campaign. You're like, wow, 20 hours? That's not really a whole lot of time. But the situation here is, after you finish the first, I assume they're calling it like the first section of the campaign or whatever, you're going to be unlocking a lot more quests. Now, quests are a little bit different from the campaign. Now, what I understand from what I've seen so far, from the gameplay footage, and from just like everything that people have been talking about, the campaign is kind of like a linear campaign. You go through levels, you kill mobs, and then eventually you go and you kill bosses. And I believe that during the campaign, you're mostly going to be playing as this character, who is called Gran. Now, once you eventually unlock quests, which I don't think you have to do the whole campaign in order to unlock quests, I think that quests are actually going to unlock a little bit earlier. Those quests function almost like hunts in Monster Hunter in a lot of ways. It's got like that mission structure type of thing where you have a central hub, and then you get to like post quests, and players can join you on your quests, and you can all go on quests together, up to 4-player co-op. Now, during these hunts, you will be able to use other characters. And again, none of this has any gacha elements to it. The way in which you unlock characters is you basically, from doing the campaign and doing other missions, you're going to get these tickets that you can then use to unlock whatever character you wish to unlock, and then you play some more and you get more tickets and you unlock other characters until you unlock all of the characters that you want. Which is going to be pretty cool because each character is going to give you different play styles. Like, as you can see, the main character here is a fairly basic character. Then you have Catalina here and a couple of more party members. And as you can see, those party members just kind of like dynamically joined in during your campaign. But eventually you'll be able to play as those other characters. Like you see Gran, Catalina, Rurikhan, and Io. I don't know if it's Io or Lo or whatever her name is. I'm not familiar with Granblue Fantasy characters. Please don't crucify me. But I'm still super excited to see, because as you guys can see, this game is like right up my alley. You got really cool art style. You got action combat. You got big chunky monsters. There's even a part break system to this game. And there are like bonus objectives that you will get while you are doing the quest, and there are very specific combat mechanics that make the combat, at least at first glance, because I haven't gotten to play it myself, make it seem very, very interesting. But as I was saying, you go through the campaign, probably about 20 hours, then you do a couple of more quests, and as you advance in the different quests that the game has, and the quests have optional multiplayer, we'll talk more about that. As you advance in the different quests, eventually you'll start unlocking more story quests, which, according to the developers, will give you upwards to like 40 hours of campaign gameplay, give or take. And then some of you are still going to say, oh, but 40 hours, that's still not that much for a full-priced action RPG, whatever. Personally, I think 40 hours is more than fair, but whatever. But even after you complete that, you're going to unlock even more quests, and those quests are going to allow you to min-max the crap out of your characters, and you can really start doing builds and stuff like that using a sigil system that this game is going to have, and that is where you will be putting in potentially hundreds of hours, depending on how much you are enjoying the game. Now, those quests are going to vary in style because, like I said, you have your campaign, and your campaign is kind of like you go through a level, you kill some mobs, then you kill a boss like the one we're watching right here. In quests, it might be a quest where you go up against a boss that works kind of like a raid type encounter. We'll talk more about those. Or you can go into a horde event where you're fighting off hordes of monsters. You can go into a survival event. And there were a couple of more event types. Like I said, you should check out 269 and Paradise Central's coverage, but it's looking pretty friggin' good. Now, like I said, the game is mission-based. Your characters will level up. Right now, I am assuming that each character has an individual level, so probably you'll want to focus on one character once you're done with the campaign, so you level up that character so that you can really power it up. Because unlike Monster Hunter, where you basically swap your weapons around, in here, you know, your characters are actually going to level up, and leveling up your character is going to allow you to put, like, you know, stat points, stuff like that. There's going to be stuff that changes in higher character's efficiency goes, and then you're going to be able to fully customize your characters with sigils. You'll be able to upgrade your weapons and do all of these different things that you're usually able to do in these types of games. And personally, I'm super hyped about that. I'm super hyped about jumping in and just upgrading the ever-living crap out of my character, min-maxing it, making builds, doing all of that kind of stuff, right? Now, when it comes to the combat, according to the descriptions of Paradise and 269, the combat feels a little bit simpler than something like a Monster Hunter, but the idea is that the combat is more about you playing as a team. And this is where, you know, some people are going to start getting a little bit divided. So one of the examples that they actually showed was in a multiplayer quest that they have here, some gameplay. There was actually a moment where there was like a spellcaster doing a spell. I'm not sure if... Oh yeah, it was actually right here. Like you guys can see that basically what happened was you have a tank here. The tank is going to make a shield, and then a caster is going to go in there, and the caster is going to start channeling a super powerful spell. So this is like where the complexity of the combat can potentially come in. Because, you know, even though the combat's a little bit simpler, like you guys can see here that you have these 4 skills that you can equip onto your character, which I believe that there's more than 4 skills, but you can only ever have 4 skills equipped at any given time. So you have your basic attack combos, which usually consists of 2 attacks. I believe it's probably going to be square and triangle if you're on a PlayStation controller, or it would be a cross and Y if you're on an Xbox controller. Don't ask me about keyboard key bindings because I'm going to be playing this with, obviously, with controller. You also have a dodge button, and certain characters will also have a block button, so you know you're going to be doing those types of actions as well. But then you're going to have these skills that you can do, and then there's going to be link attacks. And there's also this thing called Skybound Arts, which are essentially your ultimate ability. And the idea behind Skybound Arts is that you can do them in isolation, so you can go ahead and just do your Skybound Art, like big ultimate ability, all of that jazz. But if you are able to link up all of your ultimate attacks almost simultaneously, so say one character does an ultimate, and then in a very short time frame, another character does another one, and then another one does not, and all your 4 characters pop off their ultimates in a, you know, reasonably close together, you're going to get a special finisher, which is called a full burst. And again, that's where the depth comes in, right? You have your basic attacks with your square and triangle. You have your skills that you have available to your character, which you will be able to customize to some degree. And then you have your ultimates, which you will be able to link together with other players for additional damage. So that's kind of like where the complexity comes from. I still don't know exactly how complex the whole thing is going to be. I'm looking forward to playing the game myself to get a good look at it. But you guys get an idea of what the combat is going to be like, particularly in a multiplayer setting as well. Once again, I would recommend you guys check out their channel for additional footage. But so far, visually speaking, the game looks really good. The combat is also looking very good. And, you know, I'm very excited about the multiplayer component of it. And I know that at this point, some of you guys are going to be like, so you need to play in multiplayer co-op, but what if I want to play solo? And it actually turns out that you can just bring in NPCs. So if you want to play the game completely solo, you can. you can automatically fill your party with more NPCs, or if you want a bigger challenge, you can choose to go in completely solo with no other NPCs supporting you, but naturally that's probably going to be significantly harder because I imagine the game is going to be balanced around you having 4 characters with you, so just keep that in mind. Now, the game also allows you to balance stuff out in case you have one friend that you want to play with, so you can go in 2 of you, and then you can add 2 NPCs to the mix so that you have your full 4-man party, or you can go with 3 players plus 1 NPC, so on and so forth, which I really like that flexibility because sometimes you're playing and you only have 1 friend around, and so therefore you want to jump in, but like, oh, but things are balanced for 4 players, so it's problematic. And some other times you might have 3 friends around, other times you might have 2 friends around, so it's nice to have that flexibility that you can just like swap back and forth based on the number of players that you have available to you, which is big win. So I'm liking what I'm seeing about the combat. And the other really cool thing is that what Paradise Central and 269 were saying is that some of these events that you see right here almost feel like a mixture of, you know, that action RPG combat with dodges and all that stuff and raid mechanics. Like if you see here, clearly you got a bunch of stuff like chasing around you. You have like these... you have these lasers going through and whatnot. This definitely feels like an MMO type raid mechanic, which is something that I really like. I like raid-like MMOs in a context of a more action-based game with only 4 players. To me, this is brutally satisfying because one of the biggest problems with trying to do raids in MMOs is the fact that, you know, you still need to manage a team of like 10 players, 20 players, depending on which MMO you're talking about. So having that in a much smaller setting is actually something that I enjoy in a game like, say, for instance, Wayfinder, which does a lot of that. So this is really cool. As you can see, there's also invincibility frames and dodge rolls because you can see Io kind of like dodging through those lasers. But that is a pretty cool thing. It is something that has me very excited about what they can do. Because if you're doing like all of these raid scenarios mixed in with a cool campaign and the min-maxing of characters where you get to do builds and all of that stuff, that's just something that I get really excited about. One of the problems that is annoying to me right now is that of all the characters that have been announced so far, not a single one of them has a shield. And I was like, bro, you're not going to get a shield character? Come on. I think I might be playing one of the characters that has a gun. You can see one of them right there. He's got a gun. So that's, you know, because it's the closest thing I can get to a gun lance, I guess. I don't know. I want to check out some of these characters, see what they play like. I want to see if the story is going to be worth it or not. But mostly, I'm just excited to have a game that's going to be releasing early next year, and that is going to give you that mission structure type of thing that you can play in multiplayer, optional co-op, all of that jazz. I am all about that, and I'm going to be playing the ever-living crap out of that, which is pretty cool. And remember, there's a part break system. As a matter of fact, you can even see here, destroy all destructible parts. Don't enter critical condition more than 4 times. This is whenever a player gets downed, clear within 10 minutes. So there's even optional challenges for some of these missions that you can do. And naturally, the more of these objectives you're able to accomplish, the more rewards you're going to be getting from from clearing the quest. And these rewards can then be used to upgrade your weapons further, and you can also get these sigils that kind of like form your build. According to 269, these sigils almost work like monster hunter skills, so they're going to enhance different aspects of each character. And as you can see, we see a full burst here, like I said, and it's just like, I don't know. I think the game looks friggin' awesome. I'm very curious to hear from you guys in the comment section down below. I'm super hyped. I'm going to be covering this game next year. If you're watching this and you're still enjoying the holidays, then happy holidays. That is going to be it from me for now. And yeah, thank you all very much for watching. I'll see you guys in the next one. Stay strong. Stay safe. Peace out.